How's it going, guys? Welcome to Audio Addiction. If you're new here, you may see a familiar face on the screen. She can say her name and what she does, and her name, of course.
Hi, guys. My name is Dani Zanoni. I am a singer-songwriter from Northern New Jersey.
There we
Woo!
go. Well, welcome back, Danny. We found out, or I found out more specifically, that it is almost been almost 2 years.
Yeah.
So that's I'm feeling extra old today, you know. So love to. I feel
Mhm.
like anytime I have a repeat guest on, it's just like, how long has it been? And then you have to think about like the pandemic and stuff, and you're like, man, that was
Yep.
a time, huh? That's crazy.
That happened, right?
That happened, yeah. It's not some fever dream, right, that exists,
Mhm.
but yeah, Danny, thank you for coming back on. I know I reached out since you released, a new EP, which I'm sure
Mhm.
we're gonna delve into a little bit more, but how has the music been? I feel like I see every listen, this is a plug to go follow Danny on Instagram because I see a post probably every day saying that she's playing locally in the New Jersey area. So if you live in northern New Jersey-esque area
Mhm.
and outside that area, probably
Yeah.
going further, I think you should go see her live. That's all I'm saying.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, no, the music has been great. This EP, it was crazy to me. I've been working on it since probably it's been like 2 years working on
Woo!
the EP. 20 I'm like trying to think. 2021, no, 2022, we started
Okay.
working on it, and then the release process just finally ended January 2024. Yeah, so
Woo!
it's been a while, 5 songs, but it's been a wonderful journey, a really, I wanna think of the right word, very, introspective journey? Am I
Okay.
using that right? Um, yeah, this was a very intimate album for me, and, yeah, so it's good, and the gigging has been really great. I'm now playing not only solo, not only duo, but as a band as well. So we
Kudos.
got everything kinda happening, cover music and originals, so it's good.
There we go. Well, yeah, go out and see Danny. I've only seen her at Launch Conference, and listen, I can guarantee you, if she sounds good just solo, a band's gonna be ridiculous. So go out and see her. She's great. Um, but I went back and listened to 20 something, which is your newest release. And I remember listening to it on release day when you announced that it was all out. I was like, I gotta give Danny some love. So I went and listened to the whole thing, and I was like, kind of put it on, and I was like, just listen to it, and I didn't really absorb it as much. So I was like, before I have Danny on tonight, I was like, I gotta go sit down. I have to listen to it. I have to absorb it more. And I'm not gonna lie, I was getting a little choked up.
Oh,
I was like,
oh,
man, some of these songs, like, I'm not even in the same space, like mental space that you were probably in, but like, there's definitely some songs that were like, I could feel the tugs, and
mm,
I was like,
yeah.
man, this hurts. Who left this bowl of onions out here? Like, I was really in the moment for that. Which I love because I think that's kind of the wonderful thing about doing music is like, regardless if I'm listening to like heavier bands or I'm listening to like more acoustic, like folksy sort of stuff, I think there's a weird way that something unlocks in my head that, brings out that sort of emotion.
For
Um,
sure.
and obviously I know you've been working on this for a couple years, so having it finally all come out and be released, how does it feel for you to have this finally out for people to hear in full? Because you kind of released a bunch of singles over 2023, but now for it to have fully come out, do you have was there anything that you did like celebratory? Was there anything that like what kind of happened on release day? If you can give us a little bit of a background on that.
I mean, honestly, I just kinda let it, you know, come out, and I just kinda let it do its thing and see what the responses were and all of that, and as I've been releasing the singles too, it's just incredible to see how people are relating to the songs and
Mhm.
how people are kind of seeing their own stories through the songs as well. So, this was a really tough album for me to put out, EP for me to put out,
Sure. I knew what
because
you
it
meant.
it is very personal, and it's about a lot of the struggles that I had faced, are facing, um, in life, and it's very, it's vulnerable to
Oh,
be
yeah.
able to put something like that out, and you don't want people to judge you for, what you're going through. You might be afraid, but I felt I needed to release this.
Mhm.
So, on one hand, it was nerve-wracking, but then on the other hand, it was like a breath of fresh air because I felt like I finally released all of these things that I've been kind of like holding inside for so long.
Mhm.
So, yeah, no, it overall it felt really, really great to finally have everything just out there.
I think if I could surmise the EP into one word, I felt very cathartic.
Yeah.
It was like I'm not Danny, of course, but I was like, if I was in the driver's seat and I was trying to like carve out my emotions or like really put the pen to paper,
Mhm.
what would I want to write about? And I feel like I feel like you talked about certain things that just kind of in my head, I was like, man, we are on the parallels here of like, I feel some of these like emotions and felt some of those things in my life. And I was like, man, it's crazy to draw those sorts of parallels listening to, somebody you've seen play live and stuff like that. Not to say that I haven't seen other artists play live, but
Mhm.
um it was really interesting to kind of be a little bit more introspective on that. What was kind of like the writing process for 20 something? You said it started a couple years ago, but was that kind of your intention to be a little bit more vulnerable, a little bit more? Because I feel like in previous songs that you've released, like Rabbit Hole, stuff like that, there's a little bit more
Total.
metaphors, there's a little bit more like it's a little
Mhm.
bit nuanced. And I felt like this was a little bit more like in your face, like I'm telling you this is how I feel, and I'm gonna be as raw and as vulnerable as I possibly can. Was that kind of a was that something you had to kind of delve through, or and you were like, I feel like I have to do this and
Mhm.
like need to do this, or was there kind of like more of an inner conflict on like, I don't know, like should I do it? Like, is this really what I want to do?
Yeah, no. So funny enough, even though I said the whole recording process and everything for it only started like 2 years ago, the writing process, I mean, these songs, some of them I've had written since like 2017, 2018. So they've been in the vault for a while.
The Danny
Um,
Vault, yeah.
the Danny vault, not the Taylor Swift vault. um,
Someday, yeah.
maybe someday. But yeah, so I never knew as I was writing them what I wanted to do with them and how I wanted to release them. And then as I was after Rabbit Hole, as I
Mhm.
was kind of starting to figure out, okay, what do I want to do next? Like, what do I have? Is there anything new that I'm writing? And so I went through my songs and I found these five, and I was like, they all tell a story,
Mhm.
and I just felt like they all deserved to be together
Sure.
in so I wanted to do that, and yeah, it I just felt like I really needed to release them that way. And Rabbit Hole and For Me even are songs that are about relationships and things.
Sure, yeah.
And I in 2017 released my very first song, which was Facing Reality. And that was all about going out into the world and doing, what I wanted to, and um, how music was always my safe space.
Yeah.
Again, kind of foreshadowing one of
Yeah.
the songs.
Yeah.
But music was my safe space, and music was, what defined me as a person, and
Mhm.
um, really kept me going in life. And all of these songs emulate that as well, and that idea as well. And they're all more on the acoustic side,
Mhm.
and again, more intimate production side of things, right?
Yeah.
So I kind of wanted to go back to my roots with that.
Ah, okay. I did
Mhm,
notice that. I noticed that like the middle portion of your songwriting, especially
mhm,
like the 2020s and like in between, were all
mhm,
like, okay, we're gonna make these songs produced, we're gonna make them like well arranged, stuff like that. And that's not to say that anything off 20 something isn't arranged super well because I
mhm.
love the way they turned out. But it's cool to see you kind of do a flip and say like, hey, listen, I want to do more of the like vocal stuff. I want to also have like more acoustic guitar in there. I want to make sure that like whatever I'm doing, I can do it in the capacity of like me just by myself, or I can have it be as grandiose as possible and have a band a connection to that. So I love the versatility of that. Reminds me a lot of one of my favorite artists, City and Color. I feel like he kind of
Yeah, no, we
does.
talked about that last time
We
too.
talked about this last time. I feel like he goes through the full gambit of like acoustic to doing the full band stuff, and it sounds so different. So I imagine the 20
Mhm.
something songs in a band format. I'd be curious to hear some of that. That would be
Yeah,
interesting to me.
there's
So,
there's a lot of modifications that have to be made. We were supposed to actually do a show, but something happened with the booking, so
uh
the TBA for the next one, but we had it all set and ready to go.
hopefully for the next one I'll put the good juju out there. But Danny, in terms of the songs, what was kind of the longest one that took took the longest time to come together? What was like the one that you feel like you were in the studio, you're like, man, oh, I can't quite get it right, but then like something clicked and you're like, that's it. That's what we have to go with this. This is what it has to be, you know?
I think Back Home was
Oh,
the one.
wow. Okay.
So Back Home was like a 5-minute song at the start.
That would have been
Yeah,
great. I would have been about that.
we might have to do an extended version at some point.
Okay.
Um, we'll see. But yeah, it was a 5-minute song, and we're back and forth on, do we condense it? Do we make it short? Do we keep it the way that it is? And we just couldn't really just like set on what we wanted to do. So we tried a bunch of different things, and ultimately, one of my inspirations for the song was Trousdale. Their song "Wouldn't Come Back,"
Ooh, okay.
and if you listen, there's a point because in Back Home, there's all the layered homes at the very
Yeah,
end.
yeah, yeah.
So Trousdale has something similar to that effect in their song, and I loved how it just like it had that spacey and like intimate kind of vibe. Because
Mhm.
Back Home, truthfully, it kind of has a little bit of like a religious aspect to it in the
Mhm.
lyrics, and thinking about my loved ones who have passed,
Sure.
like, and how they're looking down on me, and they're guiding me through the life that I'm living. And it just I feel like it paid homage to that spiritual side of it all.
Mhm.
uh, and I just really liked how it ended the whole entire EP too. I thought it just kind of flowed really nice. So it was a tough call to make because there's definitely lyrics in the 5-minute version that we had to cut out that also
Sure.
kind of told a little bit more of the story. Um, but ultimately, I'm very happy with how it turned out.
No, I think it was set up really well. I think it closes the EP out super strong, and like I said, I was starting to get like the well of like emotion towards the end of it. I was like, "Oh man, I can't do it. I can't like
Yeah.
I know I want to, but I feel like
Oh,
I gotta kind of like deal it out a little bit." Um, but yeah, no, to me it was really kind of a special closeout song, and it was one of my favorites amongst the other two, which I would say were Break Free and Confessions were my other two favorites as
well,
well. I mean, the whole thing is great, so everyone should go check it out. Links below, um, but yeah, I was like. I think it's really also the dichotomy of you like cursing and saying fuck and then having this song be like more spiritual and religious, I think is, you know,
you got to have a balance,
you
you
gotta
know?
have the balance, you know. So I'm glad you're giving it to me in that way. But I felt like with Confessions, like there was something like a little bit like I want to say angsty, but like I know it's not. It's like there was something like you could tell there was just like just a little bit of anger, like
Oh,
just like a like just a like light sprinkle, and you're like, oh man, did I do something wrong? Like I almost inherently felt like, oh, did I do something to Danny? Even though I know like the song's not about me. It's like I'm like,
right.
oh, should I apologize to her? Like, like
Oh,
I don't know. I feel the inherent guilt sometimes,
yeah.
but like I was like, man, okay. I'm like, I'm not gonna definitely not gonna wrong Danny, because she could write a song about me. So, wouldn't want to do that. So watch out. But no, I really felt like the emotion. I think that is another great selling point to like the EP to me was like there's just such a great like smattering of different emotions that you feel throughout the entire record, and then again to have that kind of cathartic release at the end with Back Home, it was like I think that's kind of what got me was just like the field that you kind of play in where the songs, especially starting off the EP, are a little bit more lighter, and like as you kind of get on it, like it becomes I want to say like darker, but it like the tonality you can hear the tonality shift like
Mhm.
midway through the record, and I was like really impressed by that. I was like, man, like you really thought it out, and we're like very like sniper precision on like
Mhm.
this needs to feel this way, this needs to feel this way, and I appreciate when artists take their time and really kind of like know and appreciate their craft enough to be like, okay, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, and I'm glad that you picked these 5 tracks. Were there any that were on the chopping block that you're like, man, I really wish this made it onto the EP, but like we have to do 5 songs just because it feels right? Was there any that were like, was there any on deck that you were like, man, oh man, we should have added this on, or like, will there be a potential for B sides? I guess per se.
There was one song, that was kind of like an unfinished song
Okay.
almost. But it felt right to be the unfinished version of it, you know? Um, but it was a short song. It was probably close to or under 2 minutes, and it's called Hummingbird.
Okay.
And it's another I mean, I feel like the ideas of it definitely fit in, but we just weren't sure if, again, we needed to add more to it or if it
Sure.
was right the way that it was, so we decided against it for now. Um, but yeah, the other than that, I mean, the 5 that I did, I was like, "I know these have to absolutely be on it," so
Sure. I got you. Well, hopefully, fingers crossed, maybe Hummingbird will see the light of day. If not, then you just get to hear about it in this interview and
Yeah.
never again. So that's just
For
the
now.
only time you'll hear about it, and it'll never happen again. But I have to ask Danny. Obviously, any song off of this record, I feel like is your baby. Like you can't have a favorite. But is there one that kind of strikes you a little bit more than the others?
As you kind of mentioned, Confessions definitely was the real one, the one that struck the biggest chord for me, and that's because it was so specific in a lot of the things that I deal with. So that one, A, was the hardest for me to release because I was like, I am literally dishing out everything and putting it all on the table right now for
All the
anyone.
curse words, everything. Yeah.
But then at the same time, that one especially was like, I just I need to put this song out so I can kind of like let go and just kind of use it as my starting point to like working towards healing from those things
Hmm.
and doing better with those things. So that one was a really like for me kind of song to be released. But yeah, it was really tough because again, it was the most specific and the most vulnerable I felt like for all of them. But it's so hard to choose.
Sure. Yeah, I can
They
imagine.
all they all have a different story to go along with
Sure.
them.
Yeah.
But yeah, Confessions
I will give
definitely.
you the award for the most like beautiful way you could say fuck I think I've ever heard in my entire life. I was like, damn, okay, this is kind of nice, but I also kind of feel like some type of way about this. Like
Right.
I have mixed reactions to it. I'm like, yeah, I like this, but should I like it?
How can I deliver it with like the most like anger, but yet also the most like beauty to it.
I think you wrote
It's
that
really
you wrote that line very well, so I'll give you the kudos for that. That was a good one. I also had to ask because I know I checked out our previous interview that we did. Are you still working with the same producer you were working with from previous tracks as well?
Yep, yep. Julian and I
Shout outs to
are
Julian.
yes, Spatial Soul. Hey Julian, if you're watching. Yeah, he's been amazing. He has been through my journey since 2019 now. And yeah, we just, over the years we've really clicked, and he sees my visions, he runs with them. the crazy the crazy thoughts, the crazy explanations for things, like he just he understands me. And I appreciate him so much. The only thing, it just sucks that he lives in Montreal, Canada, and I'm in New Jersey, but
Make it
we're,
work.
well, yeah, we make it work, and yeah, we really make it work, and I'm really grateful for that.
Do you have a crazy explanation that you gave to Julian that was just like I feel like I have to ask. You're the one who mentioned it, so I gotta know.
I don't Whenever I'm looking for a certain sound or a certain vibe for, like, I don't know, say I want the drums to sound a certain way or the guitar to sound or synth to sound a certain way, I'll be like, "Can you make it sound more like" I don't even like anything, just random sound effects, and he's like, "Okay, okay, okay, like this?" And then I'll play it, and it's pretty much spot on to what I was thinking. So we have
I love that.
that sounds
That's music speak. I feel like
oh
that's and if you're a musician, shout out to all my musicians. You know you watch this shit, but like man, it's so funny. I love
yeah.
that. I'll like talk to some friends. I'm like, yeah, I feel like the drums should be like ba 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 ba, and they're like, no, I feel like it should be like da 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 da, and I'm like, and then somebody else that's not a musician is just looking at them
Mhm.
and they're like, "What's wrong
What
with you? What's
what are
do
you
you?" I'm like, "You're not a
yeah,
musician. You don't
yeah.
get it. You know, you're not a part of the club. You know,
Oh
we're all crazy. All right. So why do you
oh
think
my
we
god.
do this?
Yeah.
I have to let it out somewhere. You know."
Mhm.
Well,
Oh,
that
yeah.
I joke about it with like friends that people are like, "Oh man, you just seem like so talkative. You like to do this," and I was just like, "This is the only place where I can just talk all the time and not shut the fuck up." So I feel like
Mhm.
that's like I have to. Otherwise, you're just gonna hear me talk about music. At least if I'm like screaming into my camera, you know, then like people will listen to me at some point. I feel
Oh,
so.
yeah.
It's always good. Well, if you have a great musical moment that you have had to try to explain to someone, let us know in the comments because I would love to hear them because
Oh,
I
I
think that's
would
always
love
hilarious to me.
definitely.
The next question I have for you, Danny, is who are some of the artists that you were listening to at the time that kind of influenced how 20 something came about? Because I know we talked about it in the previous interview, but I
Mhm.
imagine a lot of stuff has changed. So, were there any artists that like heavily influenced your style this time around?
Yeah, for this EP especially, one of the artists was Sasha Sloan.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
just again, like the intimate, spacey kind of, and her lyrics are insane. Like they're just so raw and real and to the point, and she writes about a lot of real shit too. So I definitely took a lot of inspo from her. Um Gabriella Plin.
Okay.
Yeah, she also, again, a little bit more on the intimate side. I really wanted to get across, like, do as much as I could with the music and the production around it,
Hmm.
where the lyrics still just, like, shone overall, like, so her, Sasha, Noah Cyrus
Ooh,
also,
okay.
really liked her, and then I mentioned before Trousdale, which is I think 3 female group, 3
Oh,
girls. Yeah,
I'll have to check that out.
they're really cool, really cool.
I'm about it. I feel like you've always given me good people to check out, so now I'm gonna have to go give them a listen. But um, yeah, I think for me there was I don't remember what song it was. I think it was probably Break Free, but there was one specific section where like the vocal layering is so like ethereal and just
Mm,
has like this extra space, but they're just stacked on top of each other. And I was just like, this was my face. Like when I listened to it earlier, I was just like, I need to go back and rewind just a little bit and recapture that moment again. And I was like, oh my god, my head, like in the best way possible. I was like, this is so cool. And I imagine it probably took a lot of takes to get right. So
Oh,
I
yeah.
also wanted to appreciate it for the sheer fact that it probably took some time to put together. Um, but yeah, I was like, oh my god, I was so floored. So again, shout outs to Julian. He did a great job putting it all together. Because man, I feel like it's tough to envision that sort of stuff as someone who is like getting into the mentality of like writing their own music and stuff. Like, I feel like I have a lot to learn when I listen to other people's music. I'm just like, oh man, I need somebody to do this shit for me or something, because I have the capacity to just speak it, but I don't have the capacity to like put it all together. So
Put together.
we'll
Yeah.
cross that bridge. But shout out to Julian.
Yes, oh my gosh, he really, just like I said before, took my visions and just ran with them and even elevated them to something that I never even expected it to be. And yeah, I'm very grateful for our partnership for sure.
Shout outs to Julian once more. But the next question I have for you, Danny, is I know we talked about just moments ago about how, depthful your lyrics you wanted to be on this record, or kind of some of the topics or things that you were going through on this EP release. And do you feel like it kind of differs from previous releases that you have had where, again, I think we kind of mentioned it before, but like where I feel like this one is a little bit more personable. There's obviously stuff that you're writing about that's a little bit closer to the chest.
Yeah.
What were kind of the things you wanted to delve into?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so the title of the EP is 20 something. So I really, it's a lot about growing up and going through your 20s and all the different life changes that you go through. A lot of shit happens when you're in your 20s. I'm
Oh yeah,
only
no.
6, I have a couple more to go, but like
Oh, must be nice. As literally my birthday is Friday and I am turning
oh my
31.
gosh,
So
happy early
thank
birthday.
you. Thank you. I
Oh,
I was like, man, she's like, oh, I'm 26. I'm like, oh God, my head. I'm fucking
I still feel, yeah, no, I it's
I want to
wild.
preface, I still feel young. I don't want to feel like I'm being mean to Danny. I just like,
I
Father
just,
Time is like, hey, how's it
yeah,
going? It's your birthday on
just
Friday. Just wanted to let
a
you know
little
I'm
reminder.
popping in.
Oh man. But yeah, I mean, just growing up and everything, like starting to be more independent and
Mm,
dealing with, finding your job and your occupation and relationships, this, that, and the other, like just everything under the sun. And also me going through it and having anxiety along with it. I've had anxiety since I was a little girl. And, I definitely in these songs kind of reflect back to that a little bit
mhm,
and like growing up all together. But it's been very prominent for me in my 20s. So, and I know there are so many people who also deal with anxiety, deal
mhm.
with stress, deal with depression, insert, whatever, uh, mental health issues that someone might go through. But um, I just this album, I wanted people to know that they're not alone in
Mhm.
what they're going through. And I felt like if I referenced everything that I've been dealing with and that I've been going through, maybe even if it just helps one other person, that's all that really matters to me. So yeah, the whole anxiety and stress in life of growing up was the main focus of the CP.
Yeah, I think, as almost 31-year-old, I can say like I feel like we we put a lot of stress on ourselves as individuals. And
Hmm.
I think for me at least, what I and this is kind of obviously why I feel like I resonate a lot with this record, being out of my 20s now, is like I think I put a lot of stress on myself to like keep doing this. Like even doing the channel, like I stressed myself out to the point where I like felt an immense amount of burnout.
Yeah.
And I I really resonated with just this record because I think I didn't really have the insight as like, starting this out and being like, "Oh man, like I gotta climb YouTube mountain," you know what I mean? Like I gotta do all this stuff and like get all these bands and I have to get my name out there and like I have to be popular and I have to do all this stuff and like realistically no one gives a shit. I don't like, that at the end of the day no one cares like if you're you have like 3,000 subs on YouTube or if you have 3 million subs, it's just like it's just a number. And so I
Right.
think realizing that and just letting it go, just like here you go,
Mhm.
just be free, I think
Yeah.
that I think for me personally that was like a lot of weight off my shoulders to just be like, just experience your 20s. Like, I mean, if you're in your 20s and you're watching this, like, just go out and experience life. Like, there's so much shit
It's
that you're
so
missing out on that
mm,
like you won't have the time to even remember or like do anything about unless you're just like in the moment. And I think you should just try to live in it a little bit more. That would be my recommendation.
and that's advice that I still need to
It
take.
is tough. It's so
It's
tough.
so
It's so
tough,
tough. And I
really.
think I think the sooner you figure that out, like I think at least for me, that was the sooner I felt like way happier about my life because I'm like, I don't give a fuck. Like if this channel blows up, great, cool,
Right,
sick. If it doesn't blow
exactly.
up, great, sick. Do I still love doing it? Is it something that I still feel passionate about talking about? Do I still want to talk to Danny, every 2 years? Of course. Sick. Let's do it.
Or
You know?
or more or sooner.
Sooner, later, hopefully sooner than later. Um but yeah,
But
I think
yeah,
that's really important. So I appreciate the fact that you're still going through your 20s and experiencing it. That I feel like that's very older adultish of you to really think like, man, I'm still in my 20s, but there's still things that I want to be able to pass off to other people and be like, hey, listen, like you're not gonna have it all figured out. Shit, I don't even have it figured out, and I'm 31. Like so just know
yeah,
you'll probably never figure it out. You'll get real damn close to figuring it out, but you won't get to figuring it out. And I think you just gotta like just enjoy the
mhm.
moment.
Yeah,
That's my
there's so
sentiment.
many definitely. There's so many like we go through so many different stages in our lives and so many different changes and that's not a bad thing. Like that's just life. Like when I was younger, obviously I was like, "Oh my gosh, I want to be this pop star. I want to be famous. I want to like, be on American Idol, like do all these different things." And then as I got older, like it became way less of that. Like it just became like music is my therapy
Yeah.
and I want to do this. I love it and that's all that matters to me. If someone hears me and likes what I do and resonates with any of my music, beautiful, amazing, but like that's just not my goal like it was when I was 8 years old, 10 years old, whatever.
Yeah.
Now it's just about the feeling that I get from it and how it makes me happy, and I want to share that with whoever will listen.
Well,
So
I'm gonna keep listening, Danny, so you can rest assured you'll at least have me on the front line.
I
Uh,
appreciate you.
but the next question I have for you, Danny, is I gotta give you some fun questions because we were talking some deep shit. So I feel like I gotta bring out some good ones, but to lighten the mood. But if there was one song that you wish that you wrote, does any song come to mind?
I know you're trying to lighten the mood. So, I
Oh
have a
no.
songs that I really wish I wrote. So I mentioned this to another friend that I was talking to because they asked me a similar question, and I actually have a playlist on Spotify that's dedicated to songs that I wish I wrote. Um, so anytime I hear a song,
That's so
I
sick.
immediately add it to that playlist, and then it gives me inspiration for further music too. But if anyone watched the previous interview that I did with Brendan 2 years ago, I mentioned how Sarah Bareilles is like my absolute idol. And so, of course, I have to mention her again.
Of
and
course, it's
there,
a rite of passage.
there's two songs of hers that I wish I wrote. One is called "She Used to Be Mine." It is off of her soundtrack that she wrote for the musical Waitress. It just again like when a song just hits exactly how you're feeling, that's 1000% what that song did for me. That one, and she wrote another song called Little Voice, and again, very similar sentiment. But those are two songs that I just like listen and I'm blown away and I'm like, why couldn't I think of that? Like, why didn't I think of that? But
I feel that. Mine are more like if it takes the wind out of my chest and
Mhm.
like I just start crying, then that's the one. Those are
Yeah,
the songs.
just those.
I have a playlist that's not
Oh,
online, but
okay.
is all of the songs that I can definitely not listen to without shedding some tears. So that
Mhm.
maybe I'll upload that at some point. But
Yeah, that's like the X-rated list for me. Like, do not listen to these songs. I have a song that do you know, You'll Be in My Heart from,
oh no, oh,
I literally cry like a baby. Like, I cannot listen to that song. Otherwise, I just start bawling the second that it comes on. It's ever
oh.
since I was a little girl, that song makes me bawl my eyes out.
My shout outs to my parents. So they for those who don't know, I am adopted. So this is like a really so they have a really sentimental track on a DVD that we have of like every time that like we do our adoption thing. It's called a Got You Day.
Aw.
But there's this one song, and I don't remember who the artist is, but we've only just begun. Anytime that song comes on, I start to just immediately start to weep. I'm just like,
Oh.
it's a song I would love to work on to cover, but I feel like I would be so broken by the end of it that I'd just be on my bed like
Oh,
crying. The
you'll
microphone, I drag the microphone all the way over there, it'd just be me crying throughout the entire song. I'll make it real emo for you guys, but which would be on brand, but yeah, that song, anytime that song comes on, like if I hear it in like a movie or whatever, I'm just like, I can't do it. Can't do it.
Mhm.
It just hits a little different, you know?
No, there's those few songs, man. It really really does you in.
I will say, and I mentioned this in a preview, actually, an interview I did that's coming out before Danny's. I also mentioned it in this interview, but um, I have like, you want to go look, you can go look, but there's plenty of times where I've done live videos on here and you've seen me actually cry. So I'm not gonna tell you which ones. You guys can go look, but they're there. They're there. They're there. Trust me.
Check that
I
out.
wish they could go away, but they are not gonna go away. So
Hey, you gotta be real live and raw about the whole
yeah, I feel like to be fair, it was a very, very good feeling because like people in the chat were like super nice about it, and I feel like they were also probably feeling the same way. So it was mutual, like coming together. But yeah, it
love
was.
battery.
It was like a Alcoholics Anonymous kind of thing. We're all like sitting around like the metaphorical like circle, you know, and
Yeah.
we're all crying together. So you
Oh,
know,
man.
hey, it works. I respect that.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we did not lighten the mood, but we're gonna move on to the next question, Danny, which is, what is your like Mount Rushmore of artists? What are four people that are just like you couldn't be Danny Zanoni without these four artists?
Oh, boy. Okay. Sarah Bareilles.
Of course, yeah.
I would have to say Carole King. Growing up, my family listened to her. The Tapestry album is like one of the best albums that I have ever heard.
Great.
uh, so she's a major inspiration, has always been. Um, Honestly, I've like recently even like Fleetwood Mac. I
Ooh, okay.
even though that they're so not my my genre or anything, but I don't know, there's just something
I
I
can hear
am
elements though. I don't think you're too far off. It's like, you know, it's like adjacent, you know.
And then fourth one, I'm gonna say Kelly Clarkson,
Ooh.
'cause again, growing up, her winning American Idol was like the like gun for me, the starting gun for me of wanting to really like try for this and really start singing voice lessons, every single thing under the sun. Like she was a huge inspiration at the start. So gotta give kudos to her.
She is, yeah, I would agree as someone who also watched American Idol like first couple seasons. I was just like, oh man, I was super invested in Kelly Clarkson winning, so I'm glad she She's
Yeah.
crushing it, so would definitely agree with that. Uh, the next question I have for you, Danny, is this one's going to be an interesting one. So I'm curious how you're going to answer this one. If you could put a dream like group together, a super group, who would be a part of this Dani Zanoni musical super group?
Okay, now last time you asked me who would be my musical lineup for a show.
Correct.
Is
Yeah.
this super group what does this super group entail? Like,
So you can either front this group
or
if you would like, I'm gonna leave that up to your discretion. But like band, like if you could have like a backing
okay.
band or like where you're like, oh man, I would love to hear like Stevie Nicks be backed by like, I don't know, some other group, like some
Ooh,
other member. It's basically just like picking different members of each musical act and trying to putting together
okay. All right.
like a Frankenstein.
Yeah, a Frankenstein. Okay, I like this. This is cool. Um, I would say John Mayer on guitar.
Of course, we gotta bring up John Mayer. I love it.
Absolutely
Keeping
John
with the
Mayer, and
tradition.
yeah, he can do some backup vocals too if he
Oh,
wants, why
okay,
not?
okay. Feeling a little spicy. All right, I got it. I got it.
Um, I mean, I'm kinda curious how him and Sarah would work together, Sarah Bareilles, you
Ooh,
know?
Sarah playing piano.
Piano, yeah,
Ooh,
exactly.
okay, okay, okay. I'm liking this. I'm like this so far. We're
Oh
cooking.
my god. Okay, this is gonna show how I know nothing, but for drums and bass, I don't really know a lot of like, I know them, but, like,
You
I
could say the
don't
band, and then
band.
you could fill it in with the
Okay,
band member. Yeah.
we're really gonna mix this up then.
Okay, I respect this.
Okay, let's see. I ooh, mm, the 1975, big fan,
Okay.
big fan. They just know how to put on a show, but also just be phenomenal live, like, just all together. So I feel like they would be really fun.
Okay.
Um,
Which
okay,
members of the 1975 are you taking? All of them.
shoot. I feel like I keep picking singers because 'cause I'd say Maddie Healy, but, like,
Okay,
I
so
can't
we're fronting the group with 3 vocalists and a
3
piano
vocalists,
player and a
guitar
and a
player.
guitar player.
Okay, I'll take
Listen, you're cooking right now, so
we're gonna take the drummer too, though, because, I
okay,
mean, he's phenomenal. I'm
alright.
sorry, dude, I don't know your name, but you're a great drummer.
I'm gonna look it up for you, Danny, I got you.
Okay, thank you. Um, okay, so we got all that. What's one more? Hmm.
I think we need a bass player to round it out. Are you gonna take the 1975's bass player too? Okay, you can add if you want, hey, I'd
I'm leaning all over the map right now.
okay.
Um, okay, there's this band called Emarosa.
Oh, of course, I know Omarosa, yep.
We'll take their bass player.
Oh, okay. I like this. I like this. Also, shout outs to George Daniel. That's the drummer of the 1975. So
There
big
we go.
salutes to him. That sounds like a interesting mix.
It is a very
Three vocalists that all have very different vocal styles.
close. Mhm.
Hmm.
But they're all just so talented, I think they'd be able to blend really well, you know? Like, they'd just be able to make it work. And then
I
I'll
could
throw
see it.
myself in there too, why not?
Hey, yeah. We'll throw Danny in the mix.
We got yeah.
I
We
like
got
this.
2 females, 2 male. There you go.
Dual harmonies,
Yeah, oof, it
quadruple
could be
harmonies.
pretty phenomenal,
Yeah.
honestly.
All right. Well, listen, if you wanna hit up Danny's people and my people, we got you. So
There we go.
yeah,
I think
DMs are open.
that was just all over the freaking place, but you know what? We're gonna roll with it.
We're gonna roll with it, and
Mhm.
we're gonna maybe take it a little step further, which is if you want to tag all of these bands and Danny and say, "Hey, are you doing anything right now?" and just post it on your story. Just we gotta get a little feelers out there.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Who knows?
You
Who
never
knows?
know.
No way.
Especially since we talked about John Mayer twice. I mean, come on. I feel like he has to know. You
He
know.
has to know. Oh, I wish he would know.
Me too. So that I could be like, Daddy, please, I need to meet John Mayer.
Yes.
Oh my god. Well, I also want to give you a shout out because I also saw you saw the Jonas Brothers recently, which was
I
interesting. I love the Jonas Brothers.
yeah.
Unironically, I feel like people are just like, man, what's wrong with you? And I was like, listen, first of all, I'm an ex New Jersey, and so listen, I gotta show love to the New Jersey boys. But also on top of that, come on, you can't tell me like Burning Up, Year 3000. You can't tell
They're
me like Love Bug. You can't tell me those
close.
songs don't hit.
Mhm.
Come
They
on, man.
so good.
I'll die
If
on that hill. I'll die on the hill, guys. I will die on the
you
hill.
are lying if you do not bop to any of those songs. I'm sorry.
If you did not like those songs, if you did not watch Camp Rock as a kid, you don't know
Yes.
it's good. Yeah.
Mm, mm.
I feel bad for you, That's all I gotta say. I
Yep.
mean, I've delved more into K-pop. They did a song with TXT.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
So
yeah.
good. That
They're
was a great
good.
track as well. Listen, I'm just telling you, man. Jonas Brothers getting
They
slept
hit.
on. Getting slept
Mhm,
on. Do you have a
mhm.
favorite Jonas Brothers track, Danny?
Ooh, I love Love Bug.
Oh, that's a
Uh,
classic. Do you
I
think you would
really
ever cover it? Have you covered it?
I haven't, but, that might have to be one. That's actually a really good Wow,
Just give
thank
me a
you.
shout out. That's all I
Yeah,
want. Just be like, thank
absolutely.
you, Brandon from Audio Addiction. This one's for him. I would respect that. I'll take
Definitely.
that. I don't need royalties. I don't need any of that stuff. I just need to know. I
Yes,
was like, that's it. It clicked.
100%. And then, off their newer well, I have to say when Waffle House first came out, I did not like it, but I have grown to really love it now.
Okay.
I was like, what are they doing?" But then
They're getting
no.
sponsored by Waffle House. I feel,
Yeah,
they're like, buy this now. And like, you just hear an ad placement in their song. You're like,
yeah,
am I listening to music still? Oh, is this still the Jonas Brothers album? I just want to make sure. Yeah.
just
I paid for Spotify Premium, so like I shouldn't be getting ads.
actually though.
They're like, buy
Oh,
this pancake meal for 5, and they're like, is this lyrics now? Is this?
what's going on?
I'm gonna have to buy the record now and find out if that's real or not.
Oh, man. But yeah, that whole album is actually pretty fire.
I actually haven't gotten around to listening to it, so I'll have to give it some love. If
Yeah,
you if
it
you
deserves a little love.
do you have
It's worth
any other song other than Waffle House that you're like, man, Brandon, I think you should listen to this song off the album.
um, is it called Roller Coaster? I think it's called Roller Coaster.
We'll look it up. I'm gonna look
Yeah.
it up. The Jonas Brothers. My Google is going to be so messy. It's all right. I'll take
Um,
it. Right. Let's see. It is. I like how they named it the album. How
yeah.
how ballsy do you have to be to
Album.
name a song the
It really
album? You couldn't have come
the
up. That's the only critique that I have for you, the Jonas Brothers, is could you come up with a better? You should come up with a different name for your album,
Yeah. Not the album.
not
It's like
the
one
album.
step under just having, like, the self-titled album, which I mean, self-titled albums, those are
Self-titled. I'll
yeah,
take. Listen, I'll take a self-titled album over the
okay,
album.
done.
You're saying
So
like there are no other albums other than your album.
yeah,
Like
right,
you are
exactly.
the album. I can't do that. At least
No,
with self-title, I'd be like, okay, I
this
know
is your
you are the Jonas Brothers. That is
yeah.
correct. Yeah. Thank you for reiterating that. Let me see. So Miracle, Montana Sky, Wings, Sail Away, uh,
I wonder if
Americana.
the album before Waffle House's album. I might be.
Oh, I don't think it is because it's
Yeah.
Waffle House, Vacation Eyes, Summer in the Hamptons, Summer Baby, Little Bird, and Walls featuring John Bellion.
No, I think it's the previous album, but Little Bird is a very sweet song.
Okay, Little Bird. Let me see if you are correct on Roller Coaster was on Happiness
Tell me
Begins,
yes, which what year was
which
that?
is the previous previous album. Yeah,
Close. Okay,
it's all right.
my bad.
It's all right.
Get them all mixed up.
Every Jonas Brother fan is gonna be like hard in the comments right now and be like, "Oh my god, I can't believe Danny
Guys, I'm sorry.
would do
Please don't.
this to me."
I'm so sorry.
I'm kidding. Don't be hard on Danny. We can't. There's some things that I mess up, so I'm just gonna I
It's
will take
tough.
the
There's
hit.
so much out there. It's like, how can you keep track?
Yeah. I'm lucky that I do audio diction because otherwise I don't feel like I would be able to document what I've listened to, what I haven't listened to. So I think it gives
Mm,
me a good barometer to, and there's shit that I've done on here that I completely didn't even know I did. So
yeah, hey,
that's,
it
you know,
happens.
products of
Yeah,
doing it for 8 years, man. Crazy.
yeah.
But
Ooh, 8 years, that's awesome.
yeah, I just celebrated 8 years on the 16th of February. So not too long ago. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's great. So great.
Yeah, I feel like I'm gonna be old. I just want to be like really, I just want to have like a full on beard and just be like really just old and be like, this is my 50th anniversary doing YouTube. You know, I
Can picture
remember when I was out of college and doing.
I could so picture it.
I would
People
hope that I haven't done it for that long. Either that, or I would hope my future wife is okay with me doing YouTube at the ripe age of like I don't know 80. You know. I was like, "Excuse me, hon, I have to go upstairs and make a YouTube video if we still are uploading on YouTube."
Yeah, right? If that's still a thing by then.
I have to upload my video to the cloud.
Yeah.
And all of
Oh
my
my
grandkids are like, "All right, grandpa, go. It's okay.
god.
It's okay." You know, like the meme where like the girl's walking like the grandparent back. That's gonna be
Mhm.
me. It's gonna be like, "Grandpa, we get it. You did YouTube. We understand." He's going a little crazy,
That
you know, like gotta take him back, you know, like
sorry, let me just
yeah.
get him out of here.
He's off his meds, you know, so oh man.
Oh
I
my
hope that's
god.
what happens. Honestly, that would be so this whole
Honestly.
moment here would be so worth it. Then it'd be like, listen, I called it, you know?
Yeah, exactly. You can come back to this 50
I'd be
years
like,
from now.
Danny, remember when we did this interview back in 2025?
Then we'll really be like, "Oh my god, that was a
God,
long time
yeah.
ago."
I was 26 and you were 57. That's crazy.
Oh my
Oh
god.
my God, that was amazing. Well,
Oh,
the next question I have for you, Danny, is I'm gonna hit you with some two heavy hitters because you listen, this has been a great interview, but listen, I gotta take it up a notch a little bit. But
okay,
one of the songs you talked about, it was very I guess it's kind of third person, but like it's you talking to yourself as you know, like things that you would want to tell about yourself from the future, I guess per se. Um, what's something else you would love to tell a younger version of yourself? Because I asked this question. I asked this question in a previous interview I did yesterday, and I was like, man, this has just got to be a part of the rotation now. So I have to ask you as the second person I'm going to ask in this rotation question. Is there anything that you would tell your younger self that you wish you knew now?
don't be so afraid. And, you know, just really put yourself out there and embrace who you are, and don't worry about the judgments of others because I promise you, no one's paying attention.
That's
So,
facts. Yeah,
but, yeah, and that you are okay and to breathe for
breathing's
sure.
important. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I
Your
would tell
legs.
my younger self to breathe and to not make cringe jokes all the time. So yeah, we'll never learn from that, but it's all right. It's
Oh, it's fine.
I'll respect it.
That's
But
you know,
no, that's great. I think I think for me it's like cool to very look very introspectively on stuff, and I love when artists kind of write about themselves in that way of like being like, hey, listen, I'm older now, and there's a lot of stuff that I've learned, and there's obviously stuff that I'll learn going further now. I think it adds a cool like time capsule kind of thing to it. You know what I mean? It's like the thing like my parents used to put like things in the ground and be like, "Hey, like we're gonna dig this up in 20 years," and then we don't live
eh,
here anymore, and now we can't dig up that land because it's
oh,
something different. I don't know. I'm just making up something, uh,
no.
but I feel like that's kind of what it is. Like when people write from that like third person perspective, and then it's like you'll look back on this song in like 20 years and be like, "Oh my god, that's how I was when I was 26. That's crazy." And then like
Mhm.
I think it's really really interesting. So I'll have to ask you this question in like 15 to 20 years. And, if I'm still doing it, I'll be like, Danny, remember when I asked you this question 20 years ago? It's
Of
great.
course.
So we'll do it up then. But the
Good.
last question I have for you, Danny, is the big one. Um, I want to know why you do this, why you're passionate about doing this, because I think for me, as someone who's been doing this for a long time and been a music fan for even longer than that, I think I really appreciate the reasonings or the wants to as to why people do music, because it's
Yeah.
not easy. It's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears.
Mhm.
Money is definitely involved in that sort of scenario.
Totally.
Why is it important to you, and why do you continue to carve out time to make music and share it with other people?
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. It is not an easy feat to keep going with for many different reasons, but I always just go back to the fact that it's what I love, it's what I know, and I've absolutely thought like, what if I just stopped doing it? Like, what would I do? What if I stopped? Like, and I physically cannot.
Yeah, I know that.
I just I can't. Like, I don't see any future without me doing something with music. And it's just been such a, like I mentioned before, like a therapeutic thing for me. And the feedback that I get from people when I do release my music, and more in the fact of how it just relates to them or helps them through things, or it's my way of being able to connect with people.
Mhm.
I just That's really important to me, and I wanna keep doing that for as long as I can. I don't care about any of the other stuff. I really just wanna do it because I love it and I wanna help people through my music.
Yeah, well, I feel like you are, certainly. I'm not just speaking that just because I have you on here. I feel like
Mhm.
I, in some weird, like, musical and cathartic way, is like, man, I felt a little closer to Danny listening to this record. It's like, to me, it was like really personal, and as well as that, I think it was just really well written. Like, I think if you just look at it from the perspective of like a songwriting thing, and you're not really like focused on the lyrics, because I will admit I'm more of a music forward than lyrics second type person. But really having the way that it's produced and the way that it's put out, I think there is just this level of focal point on the lyrics and being very intentional and being very honest. And I think that's kind of what I really loved about it, was just that you were just being upfront and really kind of laying it all out and having people experience those emotions in real time while listening to it, and I think that's really something to be said. And I know we've said it a lot throughout the interview, but I think it's really crucial because um, a lot of music is written from the heart, and so I think it's really important for people to kind of tap into that energy. So I love that. If you liked Danny and you hadn't heard of her before, she's gonna tell you where you can find her at on social media, any of that other stuff, and feel free to plug whatever you would like to plug, Danny.
Well, thank you. Yeah, so you could find me on social media, on streaming services, all under Dani Zanoni and Dani Zanoni Music, especially for social media. But yeah, I really hope that if you do listen to the EP, you can find a way to connect with it in your own way. I really hope that you enjoy it. And Brandon, thank you so much for having me again. I really appreciate it. You're amazing, and
Oh,
I what you do for the music community. So thank you.
damn! I'm gonna start crying now. Um, Danny did not. I did not pay Danny to say this. I just want to preface. She said it under her own volition, so I did not. I did not pay her to say this, but she is fantastic. I tell all of my people that enjoy this sort of like acoustic, folksy, like singer songwriter stuff to go check out Danny. So I'm gonna tell you guys, you need to go check Danny's music out. If you like just any of that sort of stuff. Even if you're a Taylor Swift fan, I feel like you're gonna dig this shit a ton. Like, if you don't like Dani Zanoni, I'm gonna. This is not a threat, so don't legally come after me. But like, I'll be very upset if you don't like Dani's music, because she's fantastic and you should. So go check out 20 something. My personal favorites, as I mentioned, Confessions, Break Free, and Back Home. But let me know what your favorites are down in the comments as well. Would love to know. And also give her a follow. Especially if you live in the like northern New Jersey area. Go out and see her at a show. I'm sure she's gonna be trying to branch out and do more. I don't know, but I'd like to know there's a little hunch there. So go check her out. Definitely go support her if you have the opportunity to. I don't know if she's doing. Do you have any physicals of this record, or are you not?
Not yet. It
Not
is in the
okay.
process. So
Beautiful. All
stay
right.
tuned.
Well, I'm gonna have to go grab it, and you should as well. So go check out Dani. If you enjoyed this interview, share, like, and subscribe. It goes a long way. And huge thanks to Dani for coming back on again.
Thank you. Appreciate you.